And good day to everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on yet this another day. In fact, our second show here on Jamaicans.com. My name is Roger Ball. I am a relationship therapist, and I'm privileged and honored and humbled to be broadcasting here on Jamaicans.com. So, to my friends at Jamaicans.com, thank you so much for the opportunity to bring these important topics and issues to the front to all of your listeners. And of course, to the listeners and the audience, thank you so much for your support. Our last show on last Friday, which was our first, there were over 4,000 views, and the numbers are still climbing. So, thank you very much for your support. And I want to encourage you to share the broadcast with your friends. There's so many relationships that are in turmoil. There's so many people that just throw their hands up. They saying, "I love you. We love each other," but our relationship is just toxic, and we don't know how to sort our way out. Well, this show is for you. This show is for your friends, cousins, brothers, auntie, uncles, sisters, boyfriend who are struggling with their relationship. Practical advice, sound advice, applicable advice, workable advice is what the ties that bind is bringing you. Started last week and will certainly continue here today. And so last week we launched with the sexless bedroom, and I promise that this week I will give you some practical advice as to how to really bring some spark, turn up the flames, and make it spicy in your bedroom. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We're going to put our pedal to the metal, and we are going to go nonstop once again. Taboo areas, we're going to talk about it. Convoluted and difficult areas, we're going to talk about it. Conflict and conflicted areas, we're going to talk about it. This, my friends, just might be exactly the boost that your relationship needed. So, once again, the ties that bind right here on Jamaicans.com. My name is Roger Ball, and I am a relationship therapist. Just a little bit about myself as well. I have been teaching at Fordham University here in New York for the last 10, 12 years, and also teach at Lehman College, a private university and a public school, training clinicians how to be effective at their work. And I have my own private practice that is bustling. And so, if just in case you're looking for a relationship therapist, you will see my information here at the end of this broadcast. You'll also see my last two publications, The Ties That Bind and Bruise, and also Deconstructing Love. Two books that folks are just, purchasing and reading and commenting and using it for book clubs, so on and so forth. So this is part two, the sexless bedroom. All right. So let's jump into it then. All right. So we started last week by talking about some of the benefits of really enjoying a healthy sex life. And they are inclusive of relieving stress, burning calories, better sleeping, boost your self-image, reduces conflict, increase your intimate bond, make you feel connected, make you feel a deep sense of belonging, reduce irritability and frustration, prostate cancer risk, increase blood circulation, and in a real sense, meet that thing that so often we don't want to talk about. And that is, as human being, we are sexual beings. And so it releases some of that pent up energy and meets some primal need. It was needs. It was Terence, the African philosopher, who says, "I am human, and that there's nothing that's human that is alien to me." John and Julie Gottman, whom again a lot of my work surrounds, their work, and John and Julie Gottman talks about this relationship house, and they say that a relationship house needs to have certain pieces or infrastructure. It needs to be built on a solid foundation. The walls need to be sturdy, and there's some on every rung in every room of the house. You need to have some very, very important things in that house. And so I'm going to attempt to begin the process of unpacking and demonstrating for you some of those columns, cornerstones, important spaces that needs to be built and nurtured and sustained within your intimate space. Look, there's a lot of talk about therapy and a lot of talk about what makes relationships work. Believe it or not, there's some really important moves. And so in this talk, I'm going to do a couple of things that I want to deliver on for you here today. One, I am going to look again, we talked about the benefits. I am going to unpack the relationship house. And then I'm going to talk about commitment and trust, two of the seminal walls of the relationship house. Then I'm going to talk about some of the obstacles, including communications, misunderstanding, that really can eat away at a relationship. And then I'm going to get to what I said I was going to do last week, which is I am going to give you some concrete moves, 5 or 6 things that you can do that if you do it faithfully, if you and your partner really decide to make a go at it, you could really see some drastic improvement in your relationship right away. Right? It's not a miracle drug that I'm trying to sell. It's not a, panacea or something like that. But this is proven research-based interventions that effective marriage counselors use consistently. Right? And in my own private practice, I use these strategies and they work, and couples are grateful for them. So let's look at the relationship house. At the base of the house, you have what you call building a strong love map. Two, developing a fondness, good fondness and admiration, being friends, appreciating each other, loving each other, sharing important moments together. Again, to the love map is really knowing each other, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about those. And then on the third rung is turning towards each other. Here's a question for you. When you're sad, when you're upset, when you're angry, when life throws you a terrible blow, when you feel depressed, melancholic, when you get bad news, when you get great news, when life is on the upswing for you, do you have that person? Can you turn to your significant other, your wife, your husband, your spouse, whether it's good or whether it's bad, whether it's happy or sad? Can you sit with them? Do you have the co-created space that you can really share what's on your heart with them? Turning towards each other rather than turning away from each other. And then the other one is positive perspective on the next rung up. That is, even when you make a mistake trying to do the right thing, even when you have different perspective on the same problems, even when you can't see something eye to eye, you think it's gray, the other thinks it's black. One says it's blue and one said it's brown. But what is the intention? Can you say actually both of us have good intentions to the situation? We can't agree on what it is or how to resolve the issues, but we both agree that the issue needs to be resolved and that our intentions are good, rather than thinking the person is out to get you. They want to destroy you. They don't have your interests at heart. They're trying to sabotage you. This, all of those negativities. And then the next rung up is dealing with conflict. And then the next rung up is dreaming together, buying a home together, having kids together, retiring together, traveling the world together, gardening together, going food shopping together, right? Co-creating some shared meaning. This is who we are. This is who we are becoming. And so those are, and then I left the walls for last, and then trust and commitment. And those are two very important aspects of the relationship. 6 signs of commitment, the research shows. One, there's a relationship agenda. Like, hey, we are going someplace here. The relationship has an agenda. We're going to get engaged and then we're going to get married. We want to do this. We want to do this. The relationship has an agenda. What are your hopes and dreams for the intimate relationships? One of the worst things that could happen is that one person is thinking engagement and another person is thinking terminating the relationship. One person is dreaming of having kids together, and the other person is saying, I don't want no kids. One person is saying that we want to get married next year, and the other person is saying, I'm not into you. One person is saying, I can't wait to celebrate our 5th-year anniversary. And another person is saying, actually, I want to get divorced. So the relationship agenda, both of you are swimming in the sea of synchronicity. Both of you are moving at the same pace and the same rhythm, because the relationship has an agenda and both of you agree on where this relationship is going. So what are the hopes and dreams of the relationship, from having children to saving to retirement to traveling, so on and so forth? The second thing is the primacy of the relationship. Look, you and I know that you can be in a relationship and the relationship is important. It means everything to one person, and it seems as though it doesn't mean that much to the other person, right? What's the priority level that the relationship is given, right? Is it your extended family, and then your work, and then your leisure activities, and then the relationship? Or is it your church life? Is it your teaching and preaching, or attending service and volunteering for Little League, and playing on this basketball team, and doing your crocheting, or your social media, or your side hustle, or whatever it is, and then somewhere deep down in the back burner, the relationship is there? You must agree where the relationship sits in the hierarchy of things. And let me tell you something. For you, the relationship sits at the top of the list, and for your significant other, the relationship is an afterthought, ancillary, accessory, sort of a side chick or a side dude, then you need to be honest with yourself. And if that person is your side, whatever, and if you're not into that person as much as they're into you, you need to be honest with them. And if you're that person who's into someone who is not as much into you, you need to be honest with yourself as well, and to at least know where you stand with them and where they stand with you. Number 3, couple's identity. Each couple must see themselves on the same team rather than competing against each other, right? If she makes more money, if he makes more money, if she's pursuing his career, if he's pursuing his career, if they are always in clashing with each other, rather than saying we are once again swimming in the relations, in the synchronicity, or this synergistic relationship where you're on the same team, right? When my wife is going for a promotion, when she's going back to school, when she has something that's going on, I must be her biggest cheerleader, right? I must root for her, I must support her, I must say, do it, you can do it, you are made for this moment, baby. God has placed you in this time and in this place, and I'm going to stand with you, I'm going to stand beside you, I'm going to cheer you on, I'm going to fight for you, I'm going to advocate for you. And she certainly does the same thing for me, right? So you must have an identity as a team. Now, I don't mean you're a carbon copy of each other, because you have your separate lives and interests and things like that, but you must see yourself as being on the same team. Number 4, satisfaction with sacrifice. I find this to be a really important one. Can you make sacrifice for the other person without expecting anything in return? So imagine Peter. Peter works really hard. He works overtime because they have a big mortgage and they can't really afford it right now. And so Peter is working overtime around the clock just to make ends meet. His wife, Susan, she's really helping out, and she's working. She's not in the position of making extra money, but at home, she's really pulling her weight. She's doing all of the stuff at home and blah, 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 blah. And I could even flip it. Maybe Susan is the one that is working around the clock. It doesn't matter, but one person is working around the clock, right? Peter comes home, he's dog tired, right? He's grumpy, he's crotchety. He feels unappreciated, even though she's doing the best she can. And she feels as though, and sometimes he sees it, but other times he just feels overworked. He doesn't like putting the extra time. He thinks that she needs to go and get a job herself. And so he is just beyond himself. He becomes bitter because he doesn't get satisfaction with sacrifices. Now imagine, imagine another couple, Jane and Adam. Jane is the one who's putting in all the extra time, and Adam is working his full-time job, but he's not able to do a second shift right now. And so Jane, on the other hand, she works overtime around the clock. And you know what? She comes home and she is delighted that she's able to make that. All right, we lost connections for a little bit there. And so imagine Jane, who is just super excited, super pleased with making the sacrifices. And so she makes the sacrifices willingly, and they're happy. A big part of relationship is people who are not comfortable with making sacrifices for the relationship invariably becomes very unhappy with the relationship. All right, and so you have to be comfortable with making sacrifice for your partner, for the relationship, for the children, for the benefits of the relationship. Number five, let's throw that back up there. Number five, alternative monitoring refers to how much and how often a significant other is looking outside of the relationship for things that they should be looking for inside the relationship. Can I just lean in a little bit closer and just talk about this one here? Alternative monitoring. A big part of commitment is, are you deeply satisfied and appreciative and accepting of what you have and who you have and what you've created? You know that something is amiss. Let's be honest about it. If you're so unhappy in the relationship that somebody passes, someone is passing and you checking them out. Somebody's at work and you checking them out. And somebody is on social media and you're checking them out and you're communicating and having conversations that are crossing the line and exchanging pictures and exchanging conversations and things like that. You're not satisfied with the relationship. Alternative monitoring essentially says this: I have this, but boy, do I want this here. I have this, but I can take this and 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 I can take this in addition to this. I could have her and I could have her and I would love to have her. And if I could only have her and if I could have, or him and him and him and him, right? And so on one hand, you have this relationship, but you're struggling with this relationship, maybe because it's not where it's supposed to be. Maybe there's some issues in the relationship, or maybe there's just some things that's going on with you that really keeps you looking out. Monitoring. Alternative monitoring is just a fancy word to say you're in one relationship, but you're constantly looking outside of that relationship. And for all kinds of reasons. And sometimes we may want to blame it on the person that we have in this relationship, but the truth of the matter is it actually wouldn't have mattered who that person is that you're with. They could have done everything they're supposed to do. They could give you all the loving and all the encouragement and all the support and sometimes it is our own stuff, our own desire for just more, right? And I think when people step out of their marriages or out of their relationships, I think we automatically think that maybe something was wrong. Not always, sometimes, but not always. Sometimes people are just like, they're rabid in a way, right? They're migrants when it comes on to intimate relationship. They are, they're nomadic. They're nomadic. They always need to chase the next, they're adrenaline junkie. They constantly they're serial cheaters. They constantly need to find the next relationship or, the next experience. And so that's just the way it is. Alternative monitoring is a really serious and important. Many hearts are broken. Many marriages are broken. Many relationships are shattered because she can't accept the family that she has, or because he can't accept what he has. And so this is something that I deal with often in counseling. And number 6 and last, what they refer to as meta commitment. And meta commitment essentially says that it's not just about my commitment to the person or the person's commitment to me. It's that I, in my own moral development, in my own determination, in my own spirit, in my own heart, in my own base of my own values, I am saying that I am a man that is committed to his family, or you are a woman that is committed to your family, and you'll guard that. Good times, guard it. Bad times, guard it. Not working well, protect it, nurture it, build it, improve it, because the grass on the other side, it may look greener, but word on the street is it is actually synthetic grass, and it's awful over there. So your grass that is turning brown, all you have to do is spend some time and watering and watering and watering it. And when trust is broken, remember back that wall. When trust is broken, you have to do whatever it takes to rebuild that trust. And so, what are some obstacles again to having a really healthy sex life? This is a good conversation. Isn't that good? Just go ahead and put in the chat questions that you may have, thoughts that you may have. Cultural and religious influence on sexuality. People believe that, some women in relationship believe that they shouldn't initiate sex. If they initiate sex, it says something bad about them, right? Their religion taught them that you must wait for the guy to say hello, rather than saying you're a fully functioning human being. You're an adult who have desires and who have power, and you can see someone that you like, and right, and reach out to them and say, hey, what up, right? You can do that as well. Psychological traumas, we talked about that sometimes really pair very painful, negative, traumatic, abusive, exploitative experiences, and somehow they are connected with sex, right? The genitalia is connected with negative experiences, trauma, abuse. And so now you're an adult and you're this adult relationship, and all of those negative experiences are always in the room with you. And that's why therapy is important for those who have those negative experiences. And I said the last time that it's not just women, it's not just young women, it's not just young girls, that boys as well. 1 in 4 young women would have experienced some form of hi sweetheart 1 in 4 young women would have experienced some form of sexual molestation, abuse, exploitation. And 1 in 7 young men would have experienced something similar as well, right? And so traumatic experiences, and then things like persistent conflict can really get in your get between you and your significant other. So in my work as a clinician is to help you, my friends, to really work through some of those conflicts and differences so that you could build healthy, sustainable, lasting, intimate relationships. And then there's some other things like gender differences, an approach to resolving and dealing with conflict, right? To dealing with conflict. And so let's go back to that. Um, just going to present. All right. And so the next one is spiritual and religious myths. Again, churches and religious institutions have long, attempted to do well and do good, and in a lot of ways do good, but have also really created a lot of firestorm in the brain, and really caused people to think bad about sex and sexuality, think bad about, for example, I talked last week about the 4 views of sex: sex as, a chore, sex as, a casual encounter, sex as a divine encounter, and sex as devilish and dirty. The church has long told us that sex is bad and is not, and to be engaged in sparingly, sparingly. And so it's important for us to rid ourselves of the guilt and shame. And even, can't tell you how many people in their intimate relationships and marriages and, health, relationship that by all accounts should be healthy, but the shame of yesteryears continue to show up in the bedroom. The demon in the crotch, as some people refer to as that. Now, let me transition to the 4 train wrecks that oftentimes really negatively impact your relationships. And I'm going to give you four very concrete solutions. Take some notes, share the link, tell somebody you've got to see this presentation. It's exactly what you're looking for. Draw an extra chair, pull your lover close to you, pull your spouse close to you. Hey, maybe send it to one of your girlfriends or boyfriends and let them know this is something that you and your significant other just might need. Share it with the church folks as well. They need it. And share it with the folks who, share it with your gym, friends and whomever it is. The four train wrecks. One, criticism. Two, defensiveness. Three, disrespect. Four, stonewalling. And John and Julie Gottman essentially says that for each of these that are alive in your relationship, there's a way to really remedy them. There's a way to really deal with them. And so, by all accounts, next I'm going to unpack each of them and then I'm going to present the antidote. So here we go. So one, for criticism, yeah, and some of us have the spirit of criticism, right? And we've just been taught to focus on the things that are broken, focus on the things that are not going well, complain about everything. And we actually come to believe that talking about the things that are not going well really make the relationship better. Newsflash, actually, more often than not, it makes the relationship more toxic because you complain more, you get frustrated, your significant other says, I can't deal with all the complaining, and then you feel frustrated, and then you go in this sort of cyclical, bruising and isolation, and before you know it, you've just begin to spend less time together, make love less, and before you know it, the relationship is in a really bad place because of the constant negative encounters. The relationship again says that for every one negative encounters, you need five. Every one negative experience, you need five. Every one, I really don't feel good about you right now. You need five. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. For every one, the food was so salty, you need five. Thank you so much for that amazing steak that you made. For every one, why can't you just turn off the light behind you? Thank you so much for turning on the AC ahead before I got home. You need a lot of positive reinforcement that reminds each other that we have a good thing going on here and that it's worth preserving. The news flash for you, my brothers and sisters, is that it's not something beyond your ability to grasp. It's not, your relationship is not so far gone that you cannot reel it in, remedy it, and make it better. What you need is some intentional strategies and practices. In academia, we call it praxis, right? Some intentional things that you need to, some moves that you need to make to really change a relationship. And I'll talk about 6 of those today. So, criticism versus gentle startup. It's easy to use critical languages. It's easy to point out a person's fault. But here is an example. So you miss your significant other. You want to spend more time together, not just any old time. You want to spend some real quality time together. And so here you want to spend some quality time together, and you say to them, but you say it the only way you know how to say it. You say it the only way you know how to say it. So you say, you walk around this house as though I do not exist. You want to spend quality time with them? You walk around this house as though I do not exist. Huh? What's the matter with you? All you do is you work, you go to sleep, you get up, you spend time on social media, you eat, you go back to sleep, and that's it. As though I'm your, neighbor or something like that. Now, there's a good chance that your significant other is not going to respond positively to that. When we are frustrated and we have needs, we sometimes really express those needs in very negative terms. It doesn't help the situation. It actually makes it worse. And then you feel worse and your significant other feels worse, and it just goes downhill from there. But why don't you try this? How about this? Using what we call gentle startup language. Honey, I really like it when we cuddle in the mornings before getting out of bed. It makes me feel so good about myself and about the relationship. So it's as though it makes my day. Can we shut off some of the noise? Can we spend more time together? Can we go away for the weekend? Can we do something special? right? Can we do a massage together? Can we go to the spa together, right? I booked this thing for you, for the both of us. Let's pack. I packed your bag already, and we're going away for the weekend. Gentle startup language, right? You ask for what you need, not through a language of frustration, but through a language of appreciation. So for the criticism, we invite you to what we call gentle startup language. And so here's a demonstration that I have here, right? In here, I have what we sometimes refer to a strainer where I'm from, right? And so I want to make a point here. So I have some flour in this measuring Pyrex here and a strainer here. And beneath this, I have, a container. So in our relationship, when we criticize, what all we're doing is we're looking for the negative things. We're looking for the bad things because in our mind, if we focus on the bad things, maybe things will change, but it's actually not true. And so if this is the relationship, all of it, all of the ingredients in the relationship, you pour it out inside of, right, the complaint jar, right? And so you pour it in there, right? And you begin to sift out, right? You begin to shake it out, right? And all of the good parts of the relationship is falling through. The kindness falling through, right? The shared financial responsibilities falling through. Right um, the the vacationing together just fell through. The cooking and cleaning and working hard and putting food on the table all falls through. And so we just keep laying it to fall through, allowing it to fall through, allowing it to fall through. But we don't care about the good stuff. All we care about is looking for the dregs, looking for the impurities, looking for what's broken. And so we just keep shaking it. We keep shaking it. And the relationship becomes so anemic that all the good stuff in there, we're tossing it away. And all we're left with, gosh, and every time you talk to each other, you just see the bad things. And every time you encounter each other, you just see the negative. And the last of the bit of the good stuff is gone. And you put it aside, and all you're left with is this: the impurities, the imperfection, the faults, what's broken, what's not working, the bad habits, the idiosyncrasies, the way, the tone that you don't like, the tone that they don't like. And you find yourself, it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter what you say, all you're left with is this. And nobody in the relationship can say, but honey, can we go back a little bit? Can we rediscover this? The good things, the good times, the honeymoon and the full moon and the blue moon and the and sitting down and the once in a blue moon. And let's rediscover that I'm not all that bad. Let's rediscover that you're not all that bad. Let's stop the fighting and call each other back to a place of togetherness, right? Because they say even a broken clock is right twice a day. It can't be all the bad things in here. There have to be some good things. And so long as we focus on the negative, we will never truly appreciate the positive and the good things in the relationship. And so criticism have a way at chopping away at the beauty and the health and the benefits of the relationship. So you have to make a decision that you're going to focus on the positive, and the things that are not working well, you're going to also develop the language to really fix them. And the next one is defensiveness. The next one is defensiveness. And so instead of, right, your significant other, your spouse, brings something to your attention, instead of really just, defensiveness is really cool. I'm going to tell you why it's really cool. It's cool because it works every time, right? It works every time. It goes something like this. I really need for you to do better about, I really need for you to do better about turning off the lights in the house. And Defensiveness says, I'm guilty. It's true. I haven't turned on the light, but that's too much for me to take. I haven't turned off the lights, and so I haven't turned off the AC, and I leave it running all day. But I got to find something to show up their imperfections as well, because I'm not the only bad guy around here. So I'm going to say, "Oh, do you remember when you left the car running in the driveway for like 3 hours? Empty the gas in the tank. You leave stuff on too. You're acting as though you're perfect, and I'm the only one that do things around." And then all of a sudden you said, "Oh," the other person says, "But you not only leave the AC on, you not only leave the light on, but you don't do this and you don't do this." And you say, "Oh, so okay, so let me tell you what you did last year, December. Let me tell you that you're not Miss Goody Two Shoe, or you're not Mr. Perfect." And then before you know it, it's a shouting match. It's a defense and counter defense. It's an attacking and counter attacking. And before you know it, you really don't get anywhere, because it was really about turning off the lights. And so, what's the solution? Is really to take responsibility, right? And so, let's show you this here. I want to show what a defensive response looks like, and then what a taking responsibility looks like. Defensiveness example. Well, if I don't pay the bills around here, right? So you want your couple to, your significant other to pay the bills and things like that, and to take care of their business. Well, if I don't pay the bills around here, we'll be on the street. And by the way, uh, when I try to touch you, right? So I'm going back to the earlier example that we gave, where the person says, "I really want to spend more time with you. Can we spend more time with you? All you're doing is work, work, work." The other person's respond and saying, "Well, what do you want? You want me to touch you, or you want me, right? You want me to spend all day with you, or do you want me to go work and get it and pay the bills, right?" And so, and that's the response, right? And then the other person says, "Well," and another counter attack is, "Well, when I reach across the bed to really hold you, you slap my hand away. So you're saying that all I'm doing is working, and when I try to get together with you, you want me to touch you. So I don't know. You got to make up your mind what you want to do." As opposed to saying something like, "I I hear you. I hear you saying to me that you miss me. I hear you saying to me that I seem distracted with work. I seem distracted with all the other activities, including social media. And you're right. And you know what? I miss you too. Feel as though life just gets so busy, and we're just always running and running. I'm running, you're running, and I feel the emptiness in the relationship. So I want to spend quality time with you as well. Yeah, let's clear the calendar. Even if it's 2 hours, let's do something together. Let's go away for the weekend. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us, you and I. Um, let's take responsibility for the things that we may not be doing as well, and make a change for it, right? For disrespect, build a culture of fondness and admiration. And here's the activity that we do with couples. Think about 3 things that you appreciate about your spouse. For each of those things, think about a specific example that they demonstrate that qualities. 3 qualities about your spouse, about your significant other, that you really like about them. And then give a specific example as to when they demonstrated that. So, one example here may be, my wife is very, very helpful. She's always been. If I'm talking to her, I would say, "My love, you're always very helpful. You've never not helped me when my back was against the wall, or just help me." And I may say, for example, "She's in the background right now. Thank you for being in the background, helping me to put together this broadcast, and to being the producer of this show. Thank you so much, and I really, really appreciate it." Right? So I think about the quality, very helpful, example, this show, and then you'll go to another one, and you'll find another one and another one. And then your significant other would do the same thing. So you're naming qualities, you're giving concrete examples, and you just build that into the relationship. right? A big part of healthy relationship is showing appreciation for each other. So it's hard to disrespect each other and show appreciation. So let's look at this chart. What I like about you. Right? And so this is something I have couples do. Kind of small, but you'll get it. What I like about you: loving, sensitive, brave, intelligent, thoughtful, generous, loyal, so on and so forth, funny, considerate, affectionate, organized, resourceful, athletic, cheerful, coordinated, graceful, right? Active, careful, reserved, adventurous, receptive, reliable, responsible, dependable, nurturing, warm, right? Lusty, witty, relaxed, beautiful, handsome, rich. I want to be rich, calm, right? Great parents, sweet, tender, powerful, right? So on and so forth. Find the adjectives that describe your significant other, and I promise you this here. I promise you this. The more you actually spend time celebrating, acknowledging, revering, supporting, standing with, helping each other out, the more desirable the other person will feel, the more, the stronger the relationship will be. And in the end, the healthier the relationship will be. So, thus far, I've gone over criticism, and the antidote is learn to talk differently. Number two, right? Not only for criticism, but defensiveness. For defensiveness, take responsibility. And for disrespect, saturating your relationship with appreciation and gratitude. Appreciation and gratitude. Find many things to say thank you for. Find many things to appreciate about your relationship and about each other. You do that, I promise you, you will never feel neglected and the relationship will never be taken for granted. So, criticism, gentle startup, defensiveness, responsibilities, right? Um, and then I'm going to talk now about stonewalling. For stonewalling, right? For stonewalling, I'm going to give you some antidote or some things to do, right? So, for stonewalling, uh, take a break. When you feel as though the relationship is, you're getting into an argument and it's like going down the hill and you're arguing and you're not listening and you're flooded with emotions and your heart is pounding and you feel as though, you're going to say some nasty things and you start saying some nasty things and it's getting out of hand. Stop. Time out, right? Oftentimes, this is the rhythm of relationship. And I want to talk to you about this just a few minutes. It's just the way men and women are wired. Oftentimes, and it's not always, I'm speaking in general terms here. Oftentimes, when a woman is upset, she needs to get it out. She needs to get it out of her system. She needs to talk about it. She needs to hear, to be heard about what's bothering her. And for men, oftentimes, I'm just going to fix it. Let's not talk about it, right? And so he needs to think about how he's going to make things right or how he's going to sort out his feelings. And so the relationship pattern goes like this. And if this is your relationship patterns, maybe you want to drop an amen in there. The male, wants to think things through and talk things out. So, and the female says, let's talk. We need to talk about this. This has to be dealt with. I'm not happy. And he's saying, I'm not happy too, but I'm thinking about what I could do to make it better. And she's saying, well, let's talk it out so it could be better. And he's saying, let me think about how I could act it out to make it better. I need to sort it out. She pursues him. He backs off. She pursues further. He gets more frustrated. She pursues further. He steps away. He leaves the home. He locks himself away. She feels rejected. She feels unheard. He feels overwhelmed. He feels as though she's too much and overbearing and overwhelming. Both of them are dealing with the same emotions, which is anxiety and anger. If she doesn't talk, her anxiety goes through the roof. If he starts talking, his anxiety goes through the roof. And so both of them have a different way of problem solving. She needs to learn to step back a little bit, and he needs to learn to step up a little bit. And in counseling, I've taught couples, and I teach couples on a regular basis how to do that, right? And so here's how you take a break. Develop a phrase or a word that you say if if the argument is getting too heated, if you just, it's not a good time to talk, then you develop a word or a phrase that you could ask for timeout. Whatever that is. It could be peaches, it could be plum, it could be spa, it could, whatever catchphrase that you, maybe it's your anniversary, maybe it's August 28, whatever it is, maybe it's the first date that you went on, some phrase that you can use, that you can agree on, that this phrase will, both of you, one person say it, and everybody stops, right? It stops the fighting. The break should be a minimum of 30 minutes because it takes a minimum of 30 minutes for the brain to calm down. The person who requests the break, the other person should respect that. Don't say, no, 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 no. I'm talking, we want to talk about it right now. Let's talk about it right now. And so then it becomes another matter. Take the break, respect the need for a break, agree to reconvene, use the break to calm down, not to decide how you're going to fight back. Don't use the break, to avoid discussion. And the last thing is, whoever asks for the break, they have a responsibility to come call back. So you can't say, are you finished? Are you ready to talk? Are you ready to? No. The person who asks for the break, they're responsible to saying, thank you so much for the break. Thank you so much for, not pursuing that conversation. I'm ready to talk. Can we talk now? And the other person should say, yes. Let me take a water break. And so that's the antidote to stonewalling. Rather than just locking yourself away, sleeping in separate rooms, not talking, not texting, then you do this, you take a break, and then come back to the conversation without starting the fight all over again. Persistent conflict in the relationship. Couples who are constantly fighting are usually not making love. That's just the truth. Doesn't matter how much you split it, how you dice it. If people are constantly arguing, if they're like, they're sleeping in separate space, sleeping on opposite end of the bed, one person sleeping on the floor, the another person sleeping in another room, and some person is sleeping over at their parents' house, or that's not a healthy relationship, and bad things are bound to happen, or worse things are bound to happen, right? I talked a little bit about that already. Men are wired differently. Men oftentimes use sex to make up. Women oftentimes use communications to make up. Men oftentimes really want to avoid the conversation, and she oftentimes wants to talk about it. Here's the thing that I would say. Be careful about weaponizing sex, using sex as a blunt force object, or using sex as this kind of, thing to say, if I'm not happy with you, we're not making love. That's just only going to make matters worse. Or be careful about just saying that, sex becomes a tool. We have sex, problem solved. Let's sweep it under the rug. 2 days later, the same problem rear its head up. Women oftentimes need a deeper sense of security to be able to enter that space of making love. Historically, from an evolutionary perspective, sex is consequential more for women than it is for men, vis-a-vis having a baby, bringing in a baby into the world, and all the vulnerability that is required for women, and the safety that's required for women to enjoy sex and to experience orgasm. Whereas for men, it's very, very, very different, right? Sue Johnson, we talked about this, so it's worth summarizing here. Sue Johnson talks about the 3 types of sex. One, sealed off sex, right? One way, just doing it, one night stand, doing it just to get it over with, release some tension. 2, solid sex, using sex as a mechanism or as a prescription to remind the other person that they're in love with you or you're in love with them. It's a reassurance kind of thing. Let's hook up. Let's get together. Let's to remind myself that I matter to you, right? Invariably, if that becomes the only or the primary mechanism for reassurance that the relationship matter, then there's a good chance at some point its value runs out. Synchronous sex or synchronous sex is sex that are inclusive of making love, connecting with each other, having a strong bond with each other, caring about the relationship, caring about the other person's thoughts and feelings, their career, their dreams, their aspirations, their hurt, their pain, their suffering, their mourning, their promotions, their sickness, their health, their financial state, their credit score. Like synchronous sex brings and accept the person sum total as to who they are: short, tall, skinny, plump, right? Synchronous sex says, I accept you fully for who you are, for what you are, for who you're becoming, not trying to change you and make you into somebody, my ex or something like that. I fully accept, recognize, celebrate, promote, and accept exactly who you are. And so in that case, the sex, in a real sense, become a coming together for the health and the benefit, the mutual benefit and blessings in the relationship, rather than something that's sealed off, or something that's looking for affirmation, or something that's conciliatory, something that's something to done to just to for somebody else's benefit. So I'm going to, so those are the three. And now, in the next 10 minutes, I am going to talk about 6 strategies to having a better sex life. If you have not shared this link as yet, now is a good time to do it. I call this small moves, big results, right? Small moves. For some of you may say, Dr. Ball, it's not that small. But believe me, small moves, big results. And here they are. Remember, you could reach me also at drrogerball@gmail.com. If you are looking for a relationship therapist, all of my sessions are via Zoom. All of my sessions are online. And so if you are looking for a relationship therapist, you could reach me at drrogerball@gmail.com. That's rogerball@gmail.com. And it will also, you'll see it there scrolling across the screen at this very moment. You could also visit my website at drrogerball.com, my email, drrogerball@gmail.com. Ready? 6 moves, small moves, big results. Number one, right? Let me throw in, right? Number one, um, build a accurate love map. Know the person, know them inside out, know what makes them tick, what makes them boom, what frustrates them, what inspires them. She likes it when you should be able to finish that. He goes weak in the knees when I should be able to finish that. Uh, when she needs reassurance, this is how she demonstrate that. When he wants me, he finished the statement. I can tell when she is mad at me because she oftentimes dot 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 dot. I can tell when he's feeling sad because his habit is to do dot dot dot. When he's upset with me, he does that that that, right? I can make her laugh out loud by whispering these words in her ears, and I can make him smile when I say these words. That's the level of intricacy. What I call it's profiling, and that may be a bad word in today's law enforcement lingua. But when I say profiling, what I simply mean is you need to have your finger on the pulse of your significant other. You know yourself. Now it's time to get to know him or know her. What they like. One of the problems with intimate relationship is sometimes we love people the way we want to be loved, but in truth is we need to love them as well the way they receive love. Gary Chapman talks about that in the 5 love language. I'm not going to get into Gary Chapman's 5 love languages here, but it's important that we not only love people what we like, but we need to love them what they like, right? It's like I may buy flowers for my wife all the time and she's allergic to flowers. I may like flowers, but if she doesn't like flowers, I need to not buy her flowers. I need to buy her perfume if that's what she prefers, right? So you love people the way they know and want to be loved, right? So number two, small move, big result. It's the journey. It's not just the destination. Send text message. I'm on my way. Light some candles. Turn on some music. Massage. Go to a spa together. Take out that special outfit, right? Set the bath, the temperature, right? Do some things. Go back. This is not just this quote unquote being a romantic fool, but it's to really infuse the relationship on a long-term basis with moves that will show the person that you appreciate them, show them that that the relationship matters and you should do it for each other. It's not a one-way street. Number three, small moves. Don't settle for your default position. Strive for more, right? Rent a room, spend overnight, pack a bag, do a mini vacation, do a staycation, right? You don't have to wait for anniversary and Valentine's Day to do special things together. Here's what I sometimes do as well. Sometimes I will just buy my wife one of her favorite treats and bring it home, and give it to her. Just ordinary things. Relationships are made stronger and better in what I call the ordinary exchanges of life. It doesn't have to be the big moment or the special moment. There will be those, and there should be those. But on a Wednesday, when nothing big is happening, buy his favorite treat. On a Thursday, when nothing big is happening, set the bathtub, buy some roses and scatter it on the bed, right? Do something really special, rent a room, pack the bag, put it in the trunk of the car, surprise her and say, let's go for a drive. I remember once I did something for my wife, rented this beautiful hotel down in the city, planned all kind of stuff, and, said we were going to visit a friend, and we went down there who worked at the hotel, and we went down there. I was like, oh, this hotel is beautiful. Let's tour here. Let's do this. Let's do that. And then I took her to the room, and she's like, where are we touring a hotel? And then I took her to the entrance of the door, and I slipped the key out of my pocket and opened the door, and she said, oh, where did this come from? I'm like, got you. We are here for the weekend. It's a weekend getaway, and it's going to be amazing. She had no clue whatsoever that we were going to do that. So those are some things that you can do. And of course, she plans vacation and do all kind of stuff for me. Share the link. Small moves, big results. Small moves. Number four, no shame. Here's the truth. As people get older, the body doesn't work as well. Libido is not as strong, right? Sometimes there's erectile dysfunction. Sometimes there's, female have their own issues as well. You can get help. Don't think about that you're just getting old and you're not performing the way the body is like that, right? As it is says that men and women are almost always on a different wavelength. Men, we're told, reach our sexual peak when we're in our mid-20s. Now, just to be clear, it's a very, very, very slow decline. But by the time a man reaches his, 30s, 40s, 50s, his sexual libido, begins to wane a little bit. Whereas for women, once they reach their mid-40s, 30s, 40s, they're like, I'm going up there. And he's like, I'm going down, right? And so we are oftentimes on different wavelength. That's okay too. We don't always have to be on the same wavelength, but what we do need to do is to be talking about it and coming up with remedy. And one of those things just might be to see a urologist, see a gynecologist, see a specialist so that you could get the help that you need. You don't have to really, say resign yourself to lack of performance and a cold bedroom, right? Talk to your doctor, and there's treatment, including medication out there that is available. All right, so those are some of the moves. The next move is, this should have been number 5. Number 5, I'm going to go back to this that I just talked about. Do not leak out, do not sift out all the good things that's in the relationship and leave it on the bottom and just keep focusing on the negative. Every time you get into an argument, you're knocking out the good stuff in the relationship. Use this. Pay attention to the good stuff. Make some good cake. Make some good love, right? Bake a cake that's worthy of remembering, right? So build the relationship by, instead of criticism, use the gentle startup. Instead of defensiveness, take responsibility. Instead of disrespect, admire and appreciate each other. Instead of stonewalling, learn to take a break. And number 6, as I come to an end, share your thoughts. All right. This would have been an activity. If you can make and keep hair appointments, barber's appointment, dental appointment, business appointment, a car wash appointment, all of these appointments, then I make the case that if life gets busy and stay busy, it is okay for you to also say to yourself, I am going to write down on my calendar 7 days in the week, I'm going to put 3 days. I'm going to put 4 days. Hey, I'm going to put 2 days. I'm going to put 1 day. Whatever works for the both of you, put it on the calendar just in case life gets too busy and you're preoccupied with other things. Putting something on the calendar reminds you that you need to get it done. And too many times couples say to me, oh, it should just happen. And I say to them, it should just happen. You think it should just happen? They said, yeah. I don't want to plan to have sex. I said, well, who's that? It just seemed like robotic, and it seemed too, too pressured, and it seemed too synthetic, and it seemed too calendarish. And then I said, okay, fair enough. Don't put it on the calendar. But here's my question to you. When was the last time you made love? Oh, well, I don't know. Okay. So you're not doing it. You're not strengthening the relationship, and you don't want to put it on the calendar. So what you gonna do? Put it on the calendar, and then see what happened. And even if you didn't get to it yesterday, hey, there's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. And that's it, my friends. That's it. I've just crested the 1 hour mark. My name is Roger Ball, and thank you so much for joining me on Jamaicans.com. This is the Ties That Bind show, right? Where we talk about the things that nobody wants to talk about, right? Where we say you deserve to have a healthy relationship, and you can achieve it if you put in the work, if you get the help that you need, right? And this is just one medium, one forum here on Jamaicans.com that you could find some help for your relationship. Share it. You're getting married? Watch it. Someone is getting married? Share it. Someone is in a toxic relationship? Share it with them. It just might be something here that they might get some benefit from. And let me end by sharing with you my books, my 2 books. And these are really, I don't want to toot my horn or anything, but these books are well written, well researched. The Ties That Bind and Bruce came out in 2019, and that was a book that came about out of my doctoral dissertation that I did on marriage and family life at Fordham University, where I did my PhD. I thought it was going to kill me, so I did my PhD at Fordham, and I wrote that book as out of my dissertation. You could also find my doctoral dissertation, 247 pages long. Don't read it. I promise you, it's very boring, but has some really, really good stuff in there. It's an academic document. That's why I'm saying that. But The Ties That Bind and Bruise, it's a really good book. We talk about a lot of things in there, and including some of the things I'm talking about here, including how to build rituals and routines in your relationship that will really help you. John Westeroff says we're made for rituals, and rituals make us. Now, and then more recently, this year, I just published this new book, Deconstructing Love: How to Navigate all those intimate relationships with your eyes wide open. This book, I'm so proud of this second book that was just published. So many good things in there. And this book is written more so for the people who are in a younger relationship, single folks, trying to understand and trying to deconstruct love. I promise you, this is a gold mine of good stuff. You could get a signed copy of, right? You could purchase a signed copy of either of these books or both of these books on drrogerball.com. That's where you could purchase those books. You may consider go to Amazon as well, but the best place to buy them is on drrogerball.com, and you'll get signed copies. You just have to purchase. Once you purchase, you'll get signed copy. And that's it, my friends. That's it. Thank you so much for joining us. And guess what? I'll be right back here next week on Jamaicans.com, talking about the things that nobody wants to talk about: love, sex, marriage, heartbreak, starting over, doing a relationship. And take care until we meet again. My name is Roger Ball. Take care. And next show, again, we'll talk about strengthening our relationship. So see you next Friday at 8. In the meantime, check me out on Instagram. Check me out on rogerball.com, or you could email me as well. Until next time, the ties that bind. I'm Roger Ball, right here on Jamaicans.com. Share the link. Until next time, take care.